Imagine a society where speaking the truth can cost you your freedom, where fear, loyalty, and group pressure keep millions in check. Many obey not because they are evil, but because psychological forces bind them.
And double cross.
Why do people follow dictators? How can logic, morality, or self-interest be overridden by authority and group dynamics? In this video, we explore the psychological, social, and historical mechanisms behind obedience to authoritarian leaders. We examine how identity, emotions, norms, and fear interact, and conclude with modern examples to illustrate how these dynamics still resonate today.
Nancy Pelosi should be prosecuted.
In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted an experiment to investigate how far participants would go in obeying an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts that conflicted with their personal conscience. The study aimed to quantify the level of shock participants were willing to administer to another person under the guise of a learning experiment when instructed to do so by an authority figure.
Of course, this was all a simulation, nothing was really happening. But the learner made very convincing sounds of pain as the shocks increased.
This will be at 3:30.
Milgram's findings revealed that a significant number of participants were willing to administer potentially lethal shocks when prompted by an authoritative figure, highlighting the powerful influence of authority on human behavior.
In fact, about 65% of the people who he studied, who were normal volunteers from the ordinary population, actually gave the maximum number of votes.
Let my wife keep me here. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My eyes bother me. Let
Go
me
on.
out. Let me out.
Responsible for it. This will be at 3:30.
Another classic study is the Hofling Hospital Experiment, 1966. Here, nurses were telephoned by an unknown doctor and instructed to administer a dangerous dose of a fictitious drug. Despite hospital protocols forbidding such actions, 21 out of 22 nurses would have given the overdose. This experiment illustrates how people are often unwilling to question authority figures, even when they have good reason to. Obedience is deeply tied to group identity and internalized norms, not just fear. Social identity theory, SIT, suggests that individuals define themselves based on their group memberships, such as nationality, religion, or social class. People seek to enhance their self-esteem by identifying with in-groups and differentiating from out-groups. When group identity is salient, dissent feels like betrayal. Norm psychology describes how behavior becomes automatic because we believe in it, not because it's imposed. Propaganda, rituals, education, and fear embed group norms deeply. When norms are internalized, they feel natural, even when they conflict with logic. The social-emotional influence theory notes how pride and shame govern behavior. Conformity brings praise, dissent brings shame or exclusion. These emotional pressures lead many to follow the group's consensus over their own doubts. Some individuals are more prone to obey, others are more resilient. Traits like low openness to experience, high desire for order, and intolerance for ambiguity correlate with authoritarian tendencies. Twin and longitudinal studies suggest both genetics and environment contribute. People tend to favor strong leaders during crises, economic collapse, war, social unrest. The promise of stability is powerful. In times of uncertainty, independent thinking feels risky. Simple narratives and decisive figures feel safe. When someone identifies with a leader, they tend to filter information to protect that belief. This is called a confirmation bias. Cognitive dissonance discourages admitting contradictions. Instead, people rationalize them away. Majority illusion in social networks can make extreme ideas seem mainstream. reinforcing obedience. Authoritarian systems exploit both overt power and subtle psychological levers. Leaders are often portrayed as infallible, messianic, or uniquely destined.
I am the chosen one.
Rituals, symbols, mythology, and language amplify emotional loyalty. Regimes cultivate loyal elites like military and bureaucrats. They do so through privileges, corruption, and mutual dependence. Secret police, informants, and fear ensure compliance, while mass loyalty reinforces the structure from below. One of the most influential thinkers on this subject was Hannah Arendt, 1906 to 1975, a German-born political philosopher who fled the Nazis and later became a US citizen. Arendt devoted much of her work to understanding how totalitarian systems function and why ordinary people obey them. In her book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, she described how fear, propaganda, and ideology combine to create systems of control. And in her famous report Eichmann in Jerusalem, she introduced the phrase, the banality of evil. By this, she meant that great crimes are not always committed by fanatics or monsters, but often by ordinary people who simply follow orders without questioning them. Arendt emphasized that obedience to dictators is not sustained by brute force alone. It also depends on perceived legitimacy, the belief that the authority is rightful, natural, or necessary.
This one will be 195 volts.
When people accept that belief, even unconsciously, they obey not just because they are afraid, but because disobedience feels unthinkable.
Continue, please. This will be at 3:30.
When people have committed, it feels costly to backtrack on beliefs. They escalate their support and disengage their moral judgments.
I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Mr. Secretary, after making this request, the President then goes back to the danger of having you deny these allegations of fraud. Let's listen to that part of the clip.
When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say that.
Secretary Raffensperger, you wrote about this in your book, and you said, quote, "I felt then and still believe today that this was a threat. Others obviously thought so too, because some of Trump's more radical followers have responded as if it was their duty to carry out this threat."
Compartmentalization, dehumanization, and normalization allow atrocities to be accepted over time.
Nancy Pelosi should be prosecuted.
While fear creates a norm of silence and self-censorship, even private dissent becomes dangerous. After a regime's fall, these habits of silence can persist across generations. History shows us that obedience is not just about the cruelty of leaders, but about the choices of ordinary people. From the Milgram experiments to the writings of Hannah Arendt, we learn that the most dangerous obedience is often quiet, routine, and unquestioned. Dictators do not rise to power in a vacuum. They are carried there by small acts of conformity, silence, and acceptance. We all carry a responsibility. Every time we question propaganda, refuse blind loyalty, or defend the dignity of others, we weaken authoritarian forces.
Mr. Putin, will you commit to not killing any more civilians?
Every time we stay silent, we make them stronger.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
The psychology of obedience explains why people follow dictators, but it also shows us the path to resistance. If obedience can be learned, then so can courage. And in the end, the strength of authoritarian power depends not only on leaders, but on how much power we, the people, are willing to give them.